Maine is home to some of the country's leading research laboratories. The Jackson Lab and Mount Desert Biological Laboratory are two of them. And add to that list the Bigelow Laboratory in East Boothbay. Bigelow just unveiled a major expansion that will help connect its work to Maine's next generation of scientists. And 207's Don Kerrigan joins us now with that story. Don?
Hi, Rob. We've talked about the Bigelow Lab in the past. Bigelow started out small nearly 50 years ago, tucked away in a kind of funky old building. All that changed a little over a decade ago. And to see the lab growth in the lab's size and its science is, to say the least, impressive. Maine has always needed what's under the sea, like fish and lobsters. But there's a whole other world of life down there we also need. Tiny phytoplankton and algae, to name just a few. That is the world of this place, Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Science.
So we study phytoplankton, bacteria, viruses.
Those are the first link in nature's food chain.
And how phytoplankton and bacteria are so critical to food production, to the oxygen that we breathe. That's our focus.
It's work most Mainers don't know about, but the science world knows. And since moving to this new campus in East Boothbay about 13 years ago, Bigelow has been steadily attracting more funding and more scientists and more attention for its research.
What we do is highly specialized.
Deborah Bronk is the lab's president and CEO.
We deal with the very small, but we also go one level up and we study the things that eat the phytoplankton, bacteria, and viruses. And that includes baby lobsters.
One example, Bigelow researchers have made key findings about the microscopic creatures that are food for baby lobsters and for endangered right whales.
A139.
That kind of research has been attracting more college students to do a semester or summer internship here. Bigelow is now expanding its education program, but as new and big as this place is, it did not have enough space for classrooms. So, it was time to expand again. With major funding from the Alphon Foundation, the lab just opened the Harold Alphon Center for Ocean Education and Innovation, a $33 million project that provides more research space, a large meeting hall, and dedicated teaching labs to bring more college, high school, and even grade school students here.
We've really been limited to, maybe 4 to 8 students in a lab space at a time. And now, these are built for 16 students, and so we should be able to have larger groups doing the same thing at the same time.
Scientist and education director Ben Twining says having 2 of these teaching labs means they can have several programs running at once, teaching more Maine kids.
Most of them haven't ever had any coursework that explains what lives in the ocean that is microscopic. So you might think, why do we care about any of these organisms if I can't even see them? But they make up the majority of life in the ocean. Most of the life in the ocean is smaller than you can see with your naked eye.
The microscopes and the scientists who teach will literally be opening their eyes to that world. That includes algae, the green stuff in these tanks that hold millions of tiny organisms. Bigelow is home to one of the largest collections of marine algae in the world.
On average, we distribute our algae to about 30 different countries around the world and about 1,200 different strains going out to those 30 some odd countries.
Because algae is seen as a vital part of many sorts of public and private research. Dr. Michael Lomas says the new center will expand Bigelow's own research studies and many more.
But more importantly, it gives us space to bring in companies to directly interact with them, elbow to elbow, as it were, to help them drive science to translated outcomes into the bioeconomy much more effectively and efficiently.
The center's name includes that word, innovation. At Bigelow, they're hoping that will help drive new discoveries to make the world better.
The push of a number of our scientists is to try to use their discoveries to get it into products or processes that they can get into the market. And that's really to address environmental problems that we're not seeing.
Deborah Bronk says when Bigelow moved to this location 13 years ago, the lab had a staff of about 60 to 70 people. Today, it is nearly twice as many. The new center, they say, will mean more research, more discoveries that they believe will help Maine and the world. And they told us that new building was designed by Maine architects, built by a Maine contractor, and Rob, the price tag, $33 million. When they started planning this back in 2019, pre-COVID, the price was projected at about $16 million. Look at how everything has shot up since then, now 33, but they say with help of Alfond Foundation, other philanthropy grants, the building's all paid for and has a $2 million endowment.
Very impressive on every level,
Yeah,
what they've done there.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Don.